one tonight, and we're going to do another one on Monday because of the scheduling as to what's going on with UTSA basketball. And, of course, basketball schedule has changed a little bit because the women will play tomorrow instead of Saturday, and the men's game has been moved up to noon on Saturday. We'll be on the air at 11:30. So while we wait for Karen Aston to be available for us, and they're having a bus issue, I'm told, in Memphis right now. So it's kind of planes, trains, and automobiles for everyone during this time of the year. We are going to do what we were going to do in the next segment, in the last segment of this half hour, and visit with Van Stuedeman. She is the softball coach at UTSA, and she is the most enthusiastic coach you're ever going to meet. Always, as you say, what, fantastic?
Always fantastic. Even when I'm not, I'm still fantastic.
Are you ready for softball season to get underway here in a couple of weeks?
What kind of question is that? Absolutely. It's the best time of the year.
Tell me about your team and what you're looking forward to the most in 2026.
Well, I'm really excited about the product we're going to put out there. These girls have really worked hard on their culture, and they've really worked hard on their game. And it's our staff, mine and Coach Bray, Jim Bray's, our first full freshman recruiting class. So everybody that we've brought in and transfers as well are all ours. And that's kind of a fun thing, and they're sort of, the freshmen are sort of bragging about that. We're the first recruiting class, and I'm like, well, you better make us proud then. But I'm really excited about the work that they've done on their game and their culture, and excited about what they're going to do out there on the field.
You're going to start the season with a big invitational, and you got Washington, Nebraska, and Texas coming here to kick this off. That's a pretty special event coming up in a couple of weeks.
Man, I am giddy. I am so excited about. We've got, Texas is the reigning national champion. We have one of their pitchers who graduated last year, who's our pitching coach, Mac Morgan, and we've got, the reigning national champion says it enough.
Right.
And then Nebraska has a generational player. They have a player. Her name's Jordy Ball. She is probably one of the best 10 hitters in the country, and probably one of the third. I'm going to say Texas Tech, and Jordy Ball are the top three pitchers.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say which one's which. Everybody would say Texas Tech's girl, but Jordy is, when you're in the top 10 hitter and you're in the top 5 pitcher, I mean, she's a generational type player. She's going to be on, she plays for Nebraska. And the coaches, the players, everybody is elite. And I cannot wait to be out there with them.
So when you put this together, what was that like? Obviously, Nebraska and Washington, it's too cold to play softball where they're at right now, so that may be a little bit easier to get, but you throw in Texas in the mix. How did you get all these coaches to agree to come to San Antonio for this event?
I think it's just, San Antonio is fantastic. I mean, I think that's the ultimate reason. But, I know Texas has played here in the past, but Nebraska and Washington have never been here. And I just think it's a great place to play. Like you said, the weather.
As long as we don't have weather like we're about to get, right?
Oh my gosh,
Get it over with now.
Yes, get it out of here. Get it out of here. There's always usually one cold weekend, and let's hopefully this is it, and it's going to head on out. But Texas, they don't want to play every game at home because they're going to be on the road to win the national championship again if they're going to be on the quest for that, and they have to play in the SEC away, so they need to get on the road some too. So a hop, skip, and a jump down the road makes it an easy trip for them.
And what's Washington's team like?
Man, they're nasty good. That's what they're like. And they have a kid from the Mexican border. She's from the Valley. Her name is Amira Rodriguez. And when their coach reached out about coming, I said, as long as you leave Amira here when you get back on that plane, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Y'all come on down. So everybody's loaded. All three of these teams could be at the World Series, and we'll have good chances at competing for a national championship.
How does playing against competition like this early in the season get you ready for conference season and the rest of your schedule?
Well, our kids, one of the goals that we've had is to become a contender in the league, right? We want to be a contender inside of our league, And to be able to do that, we have to be in situations that are tough. Our league is legit in softball, and last year in RPI for softball, it was the Power Four and then us, then the American, and we had two teams in the postseason, and one team, North Texas, was the first team out. So we were almost a three-team league, a three-bid league, and if we want to be a contender in our league, we've got to feel pressure outside of the conference play. You have to be careful when you're scheduling like that, though, right? Because we want to be be above 500, and so I was trying to be a little bit careful. But when Nebraska and Washington reached out and Texas reached out, there was no way I was saying no.
Right.
So it's I do think it's going to help us. We're talking about what we deem as a win, and I was talking to somebody the other day. UTSA baseball goes up to Texas, and we all know what happened there.
Right.
And I'm and birds up all day.
Exactly.
And I just don't want to let any of those UTSA softball fans down. But these guys are locked and loaded again.
Right.
So it's going to be hardcore.
All right, we'll have more with Van coming up in the next segment, and we'll see if Karen's available or just keep Van for the whole half hour. It just depends on how it all works out here in the next few minutes. We're at Roca and Martillo. The excitement doesn't stop here. this evening, stars of our basketball court, and getting to know them better. We thank USAA for sponsoring that segment each and every week. And you can call Cowboys Air Conditioning and Heating day or night at 210-934-2077 to take advantage of their 1-hour arrival guarantee. Cowboys AC, the official HVAC sponsor of UTSA Athletics. Go local, go Cowboys, go Roadrunners. So we got a softball tournament coming up. It's 2 weeks from this weekend, the first full weekend of February. And you're going to have Nebraska and Texas and Washington in there. So let's talk more about the Roadrunners. Where's the pitching and where's the hitting coming from this year?
Well, I've really liked what Jim Bray is taking over the hitting as the full-time hitting instructor, and he's done a really great job with our student athletes. I mean, they really are in sync with him and understand their swing a lot better, and we really look good at the plate. Excited about that. These freshmen that we brought in, I think you're going to see some offense right away from freshman Brooklyn Metter and freshman Arlette Hernandez. And Arlette's a two-way player. She's a pitcher as well, and we also have another freshman pitcher, Aubrey Flores. But the pitching, of course, you've got it all starts in the circle. Every single thing starts in the circle, and they set the tone. And we're going to have to be stronger, better, everything around there this year. And last year when we started out the year, we had 9 returning pitching innings. So all of those kids are back, and we've added then the 2 freshmen and then also a junior college player who was injured last year. So looking forward to the addition of those kids. But I think it's really we have a large staff, and I think they're really going to have to work together for us to be as successful as we would like to be.
The talent pool in Texas, high school, and obviously transfer portal is a major thing for every sport. So how do you balance those two, and what kind of softball talent is there locally to draw from?
Well, Texas is loaded with softball. I mean, that's a draw. That's why one of the reasons I wanted to come coach here is being able to walk out my back door and throw a rock and hit a great softball player. We have them. Texas is loaded. San Antonio's loaded. It's really a fun place to be engaged in softball. The transfer portal is it's a thing. Last year in the group of 5 conferences, 80% of pitchers that were on all conference teams are now in the P4. So it's just like every sport. It's prevalent. It's something that we all deal with, and we want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves on both ends. I feel like now it's everywhere is a junior college. Everywhere, not even it doesn't have to be the group of 5 or P4s. It's everywhere is people are moving from school to school. So it is just as relevant in softball as it is in football, and it's something that we all are navigating and learning how to recruit. I always said back in the day, God, these baseball coaches, they get all these kids that commit, and then they go off to the MLB, and then
right.
And now here I feel like we're kind of in that same boat now.
What about the American Conference this year? You mentioned North Texas was the one out last year. Where does everybody stack up this year in the league?
We're locked and loaded again. It's not a rebuild and it's not a reload. It's a load. We are loaded. Our FAU they have the pitcher of the year returning, Autumn Courtney, and she is special. South Florida won the league last year, won the tournament last year. FAU won the league, and it was. And we'll see Wichita State. They're always really, really strong. Charlotte has been up and down, and they have 2 of the best hitters in the league, in Tegan Ritchie and Jenna Lord. And then East Carolina, he's done a really good job there. North Texas got a new coach, so those 5 are always really tough to deal with. And then the other 5 of us have been all new hires, new coaches. Things seem to be changing a little bit, and The league's tough, and it's going to be another fun year of softball.
All right, we wish you the best of luck this year. If you haven't bought tickets yet, get your tickets for the tournament coming up that first full weekend in February to see some great softball. Thanks so much, Van.
Absolutely, thank you.
And
for
always
having
be
me.
fantastic.
Always fantastic.
Awesome. All
Birds
right.
up.
That's Van Stuedeman, UTSA. Aston joins us from Memphis. The women will play tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 on 93.3 The Bull, 4 o'clock tip-off from Memphis. Karen, thanks for joining us. We've had our share this year of disrupted travel and delays and nights in airports and all that kind of stuff. But you got to make a quick trip to Memphis a day ahead of schedule. How's things going, and how are you getting prepared for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, everything's okay. I mean, we had a long day of travel today. You know, the flight we had to rearrange and get out of San Antonio today, and so early morning, 4 o'clock wake-up call, and then we just got out of practice, and we're about to have dinner, and I would imagine this group is going to get in bed early tonight, so we'll be ready to play tomorrow.
All right. Since we last talked, you've had the 2 games in Florida with FAU and USF, a split there, and a tough loss to ECU with a little bit of illness going on with the team. Talk about the last week and a half and what you liked, and obviously the things you need to improve on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not happy to lose by any means, and I was in particular not, thrilled with how we played at South Florida. I mean, they're very good, no disrespect to them at all. We just didn't play characteristically as far as how we defend, and our toughness wasn't there, and I thought that, they kind of punched us, and we just didn't respond to it at all in the second quarter. But what I was the most proud of is that, we talked after the game that we didn't want one loss to turn into 2. And FAU had just come off of 2 big wins, and I thought we came in there and really responded very positively. And then we get back home and had great preparation for ECU, and then just ran into a little bit of a roadblock with Cheyenne being ill. And, I thought we played hard. I thought we played, a little tentative with the senior leader not being there, and you could sort of tell that we were lacking some leadership and some calmness about our team. And sometimes you just have to take that and learn the lessons that you can learn from it, but then also understand that we played really hard and we played really competitive, and we gave ourselves a chance to win in some really difficult circumstances.
How good is Memphis? You'll see them for the first time.
Well, they're super athletic, and they can really cause a lot of problems, which worries me because we turn the ball over so much against East Carolina, and we really have to do a better job of valuing possessions and not handing over, live ball turnovers where they can score easily and then get momentum. They create a lot of havoc, and they can score a lot of points because of their pace of play and all of that. So we're going to have to just be a lot more disciplined and a lot more attentive of ball control than we were against East Carolina.
In a few days, a few more games, you'll start seeing teams for a second time. How important is that as we go through the back half of the season? Some you only play once, some you play twice. But what can you learn from playing a team a second time when you go back and look at the film from the first time?
Well, with so many young players, you definitely will have a different take on it when you play them for a second time, because there's so many players that are playing these teams for their first time, or it's their first year in college in general. And so you never know how you're going to respond to a second game. I mean, sometimes you're much more prepared, but obviously the other team is also. What I really hope is just that we continue to grow, and we can, we've had some setbacks that kind of keep us from getting in any type of rhythm at all. However, if we can manage as we roll into February, if we can manage to get some calmness about our rotations and get over this flu season and get some people back, then I think we can really grow from this experience, because we've had players that have had valuable playing time that, they're going to be able to help us down the stretch of conference play.
I heard you in the weekly press deal that you do talk about your defense and that you would like to press more, but because of lack of depth, you haven't been able to do that. How important is in the things you want to do to have that depth and to be able to do that and have that wrinkle to your defense?
Well, it's super important because it gives the opponent something else they have to prepare for. And it can create some easy baskets, and as everyone knows, like sometimes we get a little bit bogged down offensively, and if we can create some havoc on our end of it and flow into some easy plays and some easy baskets, then it's going to give you confidence, and it's going to give you a chance to score just a few more points. So I hate it that we haven't been able to incorporate a press, and maybe mid-February, and we get back to what we would consider, I guess, full strength for this team, then we might be able to get people to their natural positions and be able to throw some presses in there.
Awesome. And having Sienna back helps you do that too, correct?
For sure. It just, again, we get one back and then one goes out, and it's just been a revolving door all year long, and the team has adjusted wonderfully. I thought that we played really hard against East Carolina, and again, some difficult situations where people were playing out of position and being asked to do things that maybe not necessarily prepared to do, but they're giving it everything you have, and they're doing some things that a month ago some of them weren't doing. I mean, Snai Bean is coming off the bench now as a freshman, and not necessarily prepared for this, but every day that she gets playing time, she gets better, and she'll learn from all of this.
Great. Well, good luck tomorrow against Memphis. We'll be back out here on Monday night for the next episode of the show. So good luck against the Tigers, and we'll see you next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you all. Birds up.
All right. That's Karen Aston, UTSA women's basketball coach. They'll play tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 on 93.3 The Bull. UTSA Athletics is proudly sponsored by the Kaylee Auto Group, home to North. as UTSA gets set to take on Temple this Saturday. By the way, that game has been moved up to noon, so we'll be on the air on Saturday morning at 11:30 with our pregame coverage. Despite the record, I see improvement. I know you try to take this a little bit at a time and trying to figure out where the bright spots are, but there's some little things that are happening, and that should at some point, shouldn't it, lead to more success and get in the winner's circle?
Yeah, I think clear.
That just a little bit.
This
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think pretty clearly 75 to 80% of the game we're playing not just well, we're playing really good basketball.
Still a little bit low there. There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think pretty clearly 30 to 40 minutes, 30 out of the 40 minutes we play really good basketball. The issue is in those 10 minutes, we don't play very good basketball at all at times. We allow, the biggest thing is points off turnovers. That would be the biggest thing for me, Andy. And when you play a team like North Texas that's top 10 in the country and turning you over, they're going to punish you. They're not just going to turn you over, but they're going to go score on the other end. That's what you saw last night. And then, again, you make that comeback in the second half and you play really good basketball. That seems to be the story of this team right now. But the good news is, like you said, we're seeing a lot of improvement in a lot of areas, and now we've got to put that together for 40 minutes.
I'm looking at Caden and Mateo, and in the 3 months that we've been playing basketball, I can already see them getting a little bit bigger and more confident and more aggressive around the basket. And as they mature, that's only going to magnify more because you need that physicality, especially against teams like North Texas.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We need Doran and Bob to keep coming along in that way as well. Mateo especially, I think, has really grown from a physicality standpoint. And, of course, Caden. Those are two guys that have put on 10, 15 pounds since they've been here. That'll be a huge point of emphasis in their development as we move forward.
All right, so you got to get ready for the rest of this week, and I want to mention Bob Jai, who had 7 block shots yesterday. That's a school record. That record's been going on since 1996. 7 block shots. I thought he had more than that actually, but he had a pretty good night blocking the ball.
Bob has been playing really, not just well, but his motor the last 3 games. You look at, I think it started, right before that Memphis game, but then carried it over into Memphis. I think he had 6 offensive rebounds against Memphis. And the Rice game, right? I think he had 6 offensive rebounds against Rice, however many he had against Memphis. Just his motor and attention to detail when it comes to rebounding on both sides of the ball, and then his effort defensively. Now, I told our team, it's probably not a great thing. He's getting 7 block opportunities. He's got to guard the ball a little bit better, but he's not just blocking shots. I mean, guys are going to dunk the ball, and he is making some highlight-level blocks. So if we start winning some more, it's we were talking in the office today. It's a shame we haven't won a few more games because he'd be in that conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And we need to obviously start winning some games so that people are recognizing the kind of year he's having.
We talked about this in one of our pregame shows. You're looking for good shots. You're looking for the offense to be a little easier. Is the best shot often early in the shot clock? And is that something you encourage, or would you like to see a rhythm of the offense before you take a shot?
I think it's often pretty common that the best shot is early in the clock if you run the right way and you push it with pace and conviction, because it's just normally the defense isn't set as early. Now we want to take a great shot, whether that's 4 seconds in the clock or 29 seconds into the clock. And a good shot is one that's open and one that we can make over half the time. And so, whether that oftentimes against a really good defense, you do want to beat them down there and see if you can get a cheap one. But if not, then you've got to move the ball and you've got to be ball strong and find the best shot possible. You
mentioned Dorian getting bigger as well. What's he done so well? He's been one of your leading scorers the last couple of games, and seems very confident with his shot, stepping up, making free throws, really starting to develop.
Yeah, the shooting part's easy for him. That's what he does best. I love hearing his voice in games. He's really starting to grow as a leader and mature in that aspect. He's one of the hardest workers on the team and really understands how to play. His basketball IQ is off the charts. So when you've got a young guy like that you can start to build around as well as the other young core, that part's really exciting for us.
Dad's helped him pretty well, hasn't he?
Yeah, no doubt. He's certainly got a great role model right there in his house, and his dad, his mom. He comes from a great family, and again, that's why we're really excited about his future.
And L.J. Brown has stepped up. You have getting him in the game some quality minutes.
Yeah, he earned it. I mean, he's a guy that is an everyday guy, has a lot of pride about his game, works. He's about the right things. He kind of sparked that Memphis run to get it back there in the first half. and we're going to need to continue to we're going to need him to continue to have that kind of impact every time he comes in.
All right, coming up in the next segment, we're going to introduce you to Nick Bowman, UTSA assistant coach. His role on the team and his journey along with Aston Claunch to San Antonio, all coming up here in just a little bit. By assistant coach Nick Bowman. Welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
You have been along the ride with Aston and known him for some time. So take us through your role with this team and the friendship and work relationship you have with Aston.
Yeah, I think we're actually over a decade now, and I think the biggest thing that obviously there is a friendship, and I'm very thankful for that. But I think more than anything, it's a very real shared perspective when it comes to basketball in the game that we love and the game that we coach. I think that when you've spent over a decade talking basketball and coaching basketball with somebody, there aren't a lot of situations that we haven't encountered, right? And so having that shared perspective gives us a comfort level of making decisions and pushing forward, wins, losses, whatever.
Offensive coordinator is what they have in parentheses besides your name. So what does that entail when you're getting the team ready?
Yeah, I think, this year that is something that has been tough. And it's something that, we haven't struggled with as much in the past. And I've tried, we've tried a lot of different things, and Coach and I have worked together for a long time, and we've been very, steadfast in what we've done offensively. And this year we've struggled with that, and so it's been a little bit of a challenge trying to find what works for certain guys, find what works with this team. And it's something that's a continued work in progress. We'll have good halves. You talked to him earlier in the earlier segment about we have a half here, we have a half there. We obviously scored 39 in the second half last night, and we need to play more consistently like that. And I think if you just think about our second half last night, our guys played with so much more control, so much more just purpose, but also there wasn't as much pressure. And I think when you talk about offense, especially when a team's struggling, how can we alleviate some of that pressure for them when the game's starting, right? And find easier shots that they feel comfortable to make.
Aston, take us through the journey with Nick. Besides you were Nichols together. I think you coached at Clemson together as GAs, and now you're making that progress up into the D1 basketball. So that relationship from your perspective.
Yeah, we met at Clemson, started at Clemson. Two guys that shared an office, and we've both been really lucky. I think Nick made a really good point just about our basketball journeys and why we think very similarly about a lot of aspects of the game. We've both been really lucky to work for some of the best coaches in the game. Obviously, we both worked for Brad Brownell at Clemson. I got to work for Coach Oates. He got to work for Conzo Martin at Tennessee. And so we've seen a little bit of everything. And then on top of that, a guy that our family or our wives have grown really close. We're a close group. And, when you're trying to build something, it's not just about having good coaches, good players. It's about having people in your program that you trust outside of basketball. And that's obviously something that we have.
The one thing I'm fascinated about is that you turn on the TV and you're watching a game. I see it differently as a broadcaster than you do as a coach or a fan sees it. We all see the game differently. So when you're watching a game or breaking down a game, what are you looking for? What's the tendencies that you want to see? Because obviously you're going to create a bunch of clips for the guys to watch in a film session. So kind of give us an idea what it's like to be a coach and watching a game from that perspective.
Yeah, I think offensively we're looking at the kind of shots that are being created, right? Are they open shots? And then how are those shots being created? That's the first thing offensively. And then defensively, I think for us it comes back to a couple things. And the biggest thing is ball screen coverage, and how are they guarding ball screens? There's a lot of different ways to do that. And we've tried a lot of different things, and we feel like we've actually maybe found something in the last couple games that we've had, some success with, both defensively and offensively. And now it's like, can we double down on some of that stuff going into these next games and helping our guys understand, hey, if you look at these 9, 10, 11 minutes of this game when we were doing this, we had some real success. So trying to give them confidence. So I think it just goes back to offensively, what shots are being created, how are they being created, and defensively, it's that middle third of the clock when you're guarding ball screens, and how are they guarding ball screens, and are they having success or are they not having success? All
right, let's talk about your background, Ohio, and you went to school at Eastern Kentucky. So take us through the days there.
Yeah, I was incredibly fortunate. I went to Eastern Kentucky University. I worked as a manager for Jeff Neubauer, who had a lot of success there. Have a lot of pride being a graduate of Eastern Kentucky University. My wife went to EKU, and we love that place. We love that part of the country. And when I think about it now, I think it more about it was just a start of a journey that's now been 20 years in the making. That was 20 years ago, and we just keep getting further and further away from Kentucky, but because that's the way the job works. But I look back at that time in my life very, very fondly, and I feel like I was taught the right way of how to be a coach, of how to be a leader of young men, of just how to operate in a professional setting. And I'm very, very thankful. And I have a lot of really, really close relationships from that time in my life that have now, grown in the future.
I remember going there for a basketball trip. I think it was 2010, 11, somewhere in there. UTSA was playing in the Eastern Kentucky tournament.
Yeah.
And I had to go separately from the team, so I got to drive through like all the horse farms and stuff. That was pretty cool.
I was there, and you guys, I think, won
at the buzzer.
At the buzzer, right?
Yeah.
I was
You were
there.
the manager then?
I was sitting behind the bench. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small world. Huh?
Yep. Small world. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Nick. Thanks so much. All the best, and we'll look forward to more basketball coming up this week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Andy.
All right, that's Nick. Temple. We saw them a few weeks ago, right at the beginning of the year, and they're in that mix right now for tied for second at 4-2. So they've continued to play good basketball.
Really good team, really well coached, and I don't mean to say this in any kind of slight. They're just incredibly solid all over the floor. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. And you watch them play, and just all of their guys understand their strengths so well. Darian Ford didn't play last game, so that's going to be another challenge that we have to take care of. So we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's.
Yeah, and I remember Gavin Griffiths. He missed a couple of shots early, and then all of a sudden he didn't miss. So you got to make sure you know where he's at.
No, and again, they quite frankly, they don't play a ton of guys. They limit their rotation, so their guys getting really good rhythms. And Gavin was obviously great against us. We've got to limit his rhythm shots and make things tough for him.
They are a really proud program. The John Chaney banners are all over their building when we were up there. Obviously, the change of conference and kind of the landscape of sports has changed things, but Adam Fisher is really trying to get it back to what it was.
Yeah, Adam's doing a great job. He's in his third year. Obviously, that first year they went to the championship game. Last year they were good, and this year they're at the top of the league. And like you said, really proud program, and Adam's doing a great job. I consider him a friend. And I would actually like to say, we're all thinking about their program. For those that don't know, they lost Bill Courtney, assistant coach last week, who passed away unexpectedly. Just a legend in the coaching game. Was the head coach of Cornell. He's actually the reason we hired Jacob Klee as the director of ops, because Bill Courtney called me and said he's the best ops guy in the country this past summer.
I think we're learning that he was right.
And he was right, and he was 100% right. And so obviously thinking about those guys, and again, I consider Adam a friend, and always rooting for those guys when they're playing.
I touched with Karen about this. You're now starting to play teams for the second time. Obviously, we'll see UAB and others that we only see once this year. But what's it like playing a team a second time, especially when you haven't beaten them the first time? How do you coach that, and what do you show the guys to get ready for a game the second time around?
Well, you're not going to overcomplicate it. We had some success. We did some good things in that game, and we're successful. And then clearly we did some things that not well enough, and we've got to improve in those aspects, kind of like Coach talked about in the last segment. We beat them here last year. Watched that game today, and we were really letting it fly early, and we're playing at home on Saturday. We need to have that kind of confidence when we're at home. We need to let the ball fly, and like we talked about a few minutes ago, play an early offense, be confident. When we get good ones, let it go and expect it to go in. I
had Nick answer the question about watching games. I saw you come up here and you're watching South Florida and UAB, and obviously you want to know who wins and what the score is. But what are you looking for when you're watching a game on TV or breaking down a film?
In general, just a fan of the sport. I mean, I love basketball, and I watch games all day, every day. Of course, a little extra invested in that one, with that being in our league, and both those teams coming up here next week, I believe. I don't look too far ahead, but I think it's after this one. I think it's
UAB and USF
right?
back-to-back, yeah.
Yeah, and those are two teams that are playing really well. Obviously, Andy always does a great job at UAB, and Brian's doing a heck of a job at USF, obviously an Alabama guy who I'm very familiar with. So, yeah, just preparing and having thoughts when we do start to get ready for those guys.
Off day today, getting ready for Temple tomorrow. What do you work on in practice getting ready for Saturday with an early start?
Again, probably sound like a broken record, but I expect us to come in and have a great day. We've had great practices. We're going to compete. We're going to fly around. Want to be fresh for Saturday, like you said, with that early start. But just understanding what Temple wants to do, how we take that away, and then obviously figure out the best way that we're going to put the ball in the basket.
One last thing. I had Tyler McCullough on as our halftime interview for the North Texas game, and he's another part of this team that's vital, strength and conditioning, and also the nutrition part. Talk about that role, because he's trying to get us fed and making sure that we're ready to go, and that's a really important part these days.
That's the stuff that a lot of people probably don't see, right? Guys lifting at the hotel after games, before games, whatever the case may be. It's not just pre-game stuff. I mean, Tyler's job is year-round, 24/7, and not just preparing guys for the game that we have on Saturday, but preparing guys for the game that they're going to play next November too, right? With a lot of the young guys that we have. So he's been essential for our program. He's been around some of the best strength coaches in the country, and he's a young guy that's kind of up next in that profession, and we're really lucky to have him right now.
All right, Austin, thanks so much. See you Saturday.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, that's Austin Claunch, and the women play tomorrow.